are in the midst, in this country, of a cold civil war. Unlike anything we've experienced in the modern era, and if there is a single thing that all of us, business people, working people, journalists, ought to be able to commit ourselves to, it is to finding some common ground to work our way out of this cold civil war. And it's not just political, it's cultural. It's at all levels of our society, and it's going to require extraordinary work and setting aside of prejudices, of deeply held beliefs, and listening to other people. When I was 16 years old in my junior year in high school, I went to work almost full-time for a great Washington newspaper. The Washington Star, the town's afternoon newspaper in those days, the conservative newspaper it was regarded in Washington. The Star no longer exists, but it competed against, and in those days usually out-reported, the Washington Post, where later I spent most of my newspaper career. I grew up and was educated in that newsroom at the Star by a wonderful group of people, all of them older than I was, who understood what the press, this calling of reporting and journalism, was about, and knew how to have the time of their lives doing what they loved in a collegial environment that teemed with excitement and drama. In 1960, when I went to work at the newspaper as a copy boy, John Kennedy was running for president of the United States, and I was lucky enough to attend most of his press conferences over the next 3 years, not as a reporter, but to dictate a running text back to the newsroom as Kennedy talked in full, elegant sentences with wit and spontaneity and care for words and learning. And whatever Kennedy's failings, he instilled a sense of common purpose and promise to Americans of all backgrounds and economic means. Something we might think about today, getting back to what Bill Lear mentioned. But there's no question that the press, in its coverage of the Kennedy years, failed to use the methodology of investigative reporting and left us with a distressingly incomplete picture of the man and his presidency. Since then, it's been my privilege and good luck to report on each succeeding president of the United States, to write books about them, about a great pope, as was just mentioned, about the history of our time, a biography of Hillary Clinton, who almost became the president of the United States, and for more than 40 years now to travel around this country, especially between the two coasts, to every state, and to learn about the magnificent people who are too often forgotten in Washington, both in our politics and in our journalism. But the greatest lesson that I learned at the Washington Star has been the underpinning of my work since. The idea that two basic notions inform what we journalists ought to do, and which have larger implications, it seems to me, for our country. The first notion is that the press exists for the public good, not just to make money or to entertain or to merely cause controversy. And second, that our primary function as reporters and editors and publishers and news providers, whether today online or in print or TV or video, is to give our readers the best obtainable version of the truth, our readers and viewers the best obtainable version of the truth. Because that's what real reporting, including investigative reporting with its commitment of reportorial time and institutional resources, is. The best obtainable version of the truth. And 57 years after I went into journalism, it's clear to me that something's not working in America today, that our system is straining almost to the breaking point in our journalism, in our politics, and in our larger culture. That notion of the public good, particularly as the underpinning of our politics and our media, has been undermined and overwhelmed in my lifetime by self-interest and careerism, by partisan assertion, by ideological and cultural warfare at the expense of the national interest. So the best obtainable version of the truth has not been our priority enough. Not in journalism, not in public debate in the U.S. Congress, not as consumers and citizens who take up the news and information that we provide and increasingly look for information not in terms of the best obtainable version of the truth, but rather looking for information to reinforce what they already believe, to buttress the ideological, religious, political, and cultural values they already hold, instead of having an openness to different points of view. To have a fact-based debate in this culture today is becoming almost impossible.